Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, good morning and welcome into a Monday edition of the JP Peterson Show. Man, we got tons to get to on a very, very busy weekend. A lot of incredible local news. Hats off to the University of Tampa Spartans for winning their 9th national championship. Nick Geddes on 3 Sports joining me here. Was there a Saladino on that team? Some of your family on that team?
You're damn right there was. Nico Saladino, the shortstop for University of Tampa, who got the last out playing a swift shortstop. So congratulations. There was that 9 national championships for the University of Tampa.
I think 6 for Joe Urso.
Killing it.
Oh,
dominating.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Here's a crazier fact. So a guy I worked with 40 years ago, valet parking, a good longtime friend of mine, Frankie Gonzalez, his son is their left-handed pitcher. What's Skyler, I believe his name is, and won every freaking award. So like crazy that this team was incredibly talented. EJ Cumbo gets 400 hits, the only third person in the history of the NCAA to have 400 hits. What a loaded baseball team, though. And Coach Urso is going to join us tomorrow on the show, so that'll be great. We got to get Nico on and the whole group.
Oh, I can arrange that for sure.
Yeah.
I can absolutely arrange that because
we'll celebrate this incredible.
Because there's no doubt about it, they are the most successful baseball team in the Tampa Bay area at the moment. There's no doubt about that.
No, but the boys are jumping in early this morning. Old Lonnie's riding down Indian Rocks Beach, listen to the show. Good morning,
Nice.
Lonnie Wilkins. Very, very jealous. What's the weather like out there? It was a beautiful evening last night.
HOT.
It's been kind of nice in the early mornings and in the late evenings. Lonnie said, flew in early for Cubs and Rays and went to Saturday's game, and God almighty, that was awful. JP might give away jersey. Nah, I'm good. I will I'm glad you got the jersey, though. I'm glad you got something for going to that game. Can you imagine? And by the way, David Zimmerot's going to join us at 10:15. We're going to talk about the Caitlin Clark snub. The Boston Celtics are freaking dominant, and all kinds of basketball hoop stuff to talk about. And Hurley to the Lakers. So some major basketball stories to get to. So we always got to go to Coach Z. He'll join us at 10:15. Evan Klosky will join us at 10:30 from WTSP, and we'll chat with him about the Rays and other things. So we'll get it going here with the Rays. I mean, can you imagine going to any of the games this weekend, paying, $44 after fees, $108 for outfield seats, $20 for parking, an hour and a half over, an hour and a half back to see your Rays get an infield hit in the first, go 26 up, 26 down, and then a hit at the end. I mean, are you effing kidding me? And that's then another 5.5 innings on Sunday of perfect baseball for the Orioles. But I mean, it's not the fact these guys can't hit home runs. They can't hit. This is the worst offensive team I think I've ever seen in Major League Baseball, like ever. And the numbers would suggest that.
Well, they're not the worst. They're not even the worst in baseball this year, but there are some alarming statistics.
For the historically bad White Sox.
There are some alarming.
They're hitting more home runs than the Rays.
Yeah, the Rays are bottom in the league in home runs, by the way, with a whopping 49.
49 home runs.
49 home runs. And they just played the team that leads the entire Major League Baseball in home runs. And so you see the difference there. Yeah, that was one of those weekends where I'm just like, is it football season yet? Is it hockey season? Is it anything yet? Because it was dreadful. It was absolutely dreadful. They are so far off it when you look at the great teams in this league like Baltimore. And that brings me to this. You talk about alarming statistic. And this, I didn't even know this. I saw this come across my screen on Saturday. The Rays have won 84% of their wins this year have come against losing teams. That is the most in all of Major League Baseball. They do not beat good teams. No. So this is why during the midweek, while it was nice, okay, they put away Oakland, they put away Miami. Yeah, well, those two teams, along with Chicago, are the only teams that hit worse than you do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, cool. You beat the Marlins, but as I said, I want to see what you do against the good teams. And look how far off of it was, how
Yeah.
far off they are. They're just
Not even
not even
close.
close. And now they're in
Not
last
even
place
close.
in the American League East. And what's crazy, they're not even that far out of a playoff spot, but it feels like they're buried right
Oh
now.
my God. There's no way this team would have to play like 540 baseball the rest of the way
Oh,
to even
yeah.
get into the playoffs. And there is absolutely zero chance of that ever happening against, by the way, statistically the toughest schedule.
I had
Yeah.
it right here. They got to go 59-38 to get to 90 wins.
Yeah.
They got to go 55-42 just to get 86.
Yeah.
Do you think this team's going to play 13 games above 500 the rest of the way?
Hell to the no. Hell to the no. And what's worse is the foundation of this team is really bad. It's really bad. I mean, you don't have, when you look to the future, the future could be 4 or 5 years away. That's how far away it could be for this team.
Well, if there's a
be
sell-off coming.
Yeah. Well, there better be a sell-off coming. What's worth keeping? What's worth keeping on this roster right now? Taj Bradley. You could argue Paredes.
Paredes for sure. Pepio.
And Pepio. And that's it. That's it. Everybody else is on the block. And Randy Arozarena would.
I would keep Josh Lowe. I'd keep Josh Lowe. I think this year the injuries have been got him off track a little bit, but Josh Lowe to me is worth keeping. Well,
it depends on what I can get for him now. Now, I mean, I've got to sell off some stuff of value to get some value back, and he's probably one of the more valuable pieces. But I can replace him. I can replace him. There's no question. But I don't know. He would be one of the marginal ones. You'd have to knock my socks off to take him away. Absolutely. But man, it's dramatic how different this team looks in just a year. In just a year, they're gonna end up hitting 100 less homers than they did a year before. That's going to be a historic drop off. Never, I think, in the history of baseball, no one's done that. The numbers I could spit. I've got 1,000 numbers here on how bad this baseball team is, but is it even worth talking about? 1.41 fewer runs per game. That's dramatic. That is dramatic over 1 year. But it's just more than as bad as they are, and they're almost dead last in every category in offensively, and they're terrible defensively as well. And Phil Maton, whatever the hell. I mean, that guy is the worst. And I kind of warned about that at the beginning of this season when I said, this run that they've been on is not going to continue forever. In fact, it's very likely to end and there be a long dry spell because foundationally, this team is not good. It relies on making Hail Mary trades that sustain them for years and years afterwards. The Pittsburgh trade comes to mind, where they got Glasnow and Meadows and Shane Baz. You're not going to be able to rip people off like that forever. You've got to eventually start to spend money, which this team absolutely refuses to do, even though they have tons and tons of money to spend. This just goes again, broken record, goes back to ownership. Just goes back to ownership and where this team is right now. And this is why, and I'm not going to go on a large stadium harangue, but the bottom line is you have got to spend money in baseball to be competitive. You can't continue to do it on the cheap all the time. If you want to be competitive, we are the 11th largest market. There is no reason. Well, the only reason we cannot compete competitively financially is because of the owner. And this is why this, more than anything else, you can go into how bad this deal is for the taxpayers and all that. It's the location will never give you the opportunity for the revenue maximum. Never. Because the corporations are on the Tampa side. The big money comes from premium seating and luxury boxes. They are not going to buy boxes in St. Petersburg. It's not going to happen. It's a waste of money. Talk to anybody, and I've talked to plenty of businessmen. It's like, it's a no-go. We're going to spend our money on the Lightning and the Bucks because that's what our clients want. It's just maybe the first couple years, if they try to lock these people into 5-year deals, nobody's doing that. And then you're still the same place you've always been, a lower revenue team. They have enough. They can make enough to at least try to spend money. But you're not maxing it out. The maximum attendance, the maximum way to get people in the seats and big money to be able to spend payroll and be competitive with the Yankees, the Orioles, and all these others is simply to put the stadium where you can max out those things. And St. Petersburg is not that spot. So if you're a baseball fan and you're just, I'm tired of hearing about it, just build something so we can, you're being very short-sighted. Oh, but there's never going to be a deal in Tampa. That's not true. If you do a public-private partnership, that's just not a blank check rollover like they're doing in St. Pete. And Major League Baseball would have to force Sternberg to do it or get new ownership. It's all doable. And it should have been done long ago. But here we are. So if you want to be all up in angst about how do we fix this, that's the starting point. Well, and you're about to screw that up too.
And in terms of this season in particular, what we see on the field, like if you're trying to tell me a plan for how the Rays are going to get out of this funk right now, like to me, it's all based on hope. And if there's anything I know about professional sports, hope is not a strategy.
No,
it's never been a strategy. And there's a lot of hope. I hope Yandy Diaz hits like he did last year. Right. I hope that Brandon Lau finds some consistency. And granted, he's been a little bit better of late. I hope that Randy Arozarena just becomes a good at bat. And again, granted, it's funny how the Rays are back in a funk and Randy Arozarena has looked the best that he's looked all season because everybody else around these guys now has just decided to just not show up at all. Like the lineup yesterday, I mean, Johnny freaking DeLuca, I mean, he got all this goodwill with the fan base because of what he did, when he first came up, literally almost exactly a month ago, right?
Yeah.
11 RBIs or whatever it was in a homestand. And since then, what has he got? Like 2-3 hits? Like he's hitting like 170 and he's hitting
25.
And he's hitting fifth in your lineup yesterday. And I'm not putting that on Kevin Cash, by the way, because I don't look at what does Kevin Cash have to work with when he puts out that lineup card every day. There's
Nothing.
It's so barren right now with what they have to work with from a lineup standpoint. They're so unwatchable. I mean, there was a point where they went, if my math's correct right here, they went 15 innings where the only guy who got a hit was Yandy Diaz.
Yes.
Between Saturday and Sunday, it was Yandy
innings,
Diaz.
And Yandy was the only one who got a hit. Yeah.
Like that was it.
One of them was an infield hit.
I mean, how you cannot, it's not sustainable. It's just not. Like every time they play a decent to good baseball team, they look so far off it. And it's everything. You mentioned Phil Maton, by the way. Reminder, he's the fifth highest paid player on this team at $6.25 million. Phil Maton.
Yeah. When you go to the Walmart to shop, and the bullpen, sometimes you're going to get a good value, sometimes you're not.
And look at this. This is crazy to me. This is a crazy stat too. If you combine Jason Adam, Fairbanks, and Clevenger, they've given up a combined 1 home run this year. The rest of the bullpen has given up 35 home runs. They don't have any reliable arms in that bullpen except for those 3. And you see it when they had to throw Chris Davinsky out there for 2 innings on Friday night, which was a complete sign of we're punting this game. Yeah. When you throw Davinsky out there for 2 innings, it doesn't matter. If you don't use those 3 guys in the bullpen, this team's just got no shot. And, of course, they don't hit. They don't help out their starting pitchers who, by standards, I mean, the starting pitching actually pitched really well this weekend. But they got no help. They got zero help.
I love some of these comments are just so spot on. Lonnie said, I got $10 tickets and parked at Three Daughters Brewery, walked over, skipped paying parking. This team isn't worth spending the money on. He actually said he had tickets. Yeah, he had tickets to Sunday's game and just said, F it, I ain't going. I'm staying at the beach. Great decision. Rays will lose 90. Dean of College Week said, don't look now, but Rays playing Baltimore again today. I know. Absolutely horrific.
Against Corbin Burns.
Yeah. Playoffs, it will never happen. This team won by taking advantage of bad GMs. They won with the great bullpen. Those days are over. Agree. Rick says, it's not baseball season. I sit on my pool sipping margaritas, vodka, cranberry, and grilling before the monsoon start in July. The Rays are unwatchable. True. the whole culture needs to change. Most team getting something out of their draft like the Orioles, but not the Rays. Worst team in baseball to watch. Remember, the Rays the Baltimore Orioles went through a long time of it was a long, cold winter. James says it's ownership, nothing more. MLB needs to put a minimum amount to spend. This will ensure cheap owners can't keep depending on luxury tax revenue. Yeah, absolutely. Lonnie says, I swear it's half tourists in the crowd too in St. Pete. They don't cheer in big pitching spots. No chance. If you cheer, you're stared at. So everyone just sits on their hands.
I heard some people on Twitter, some of these diehard Rays fans that were like, they were at the game on Friday and Saturday and they were standing up trying to like cheer and get people going. And people were telling them to sit down.
Yeah, there you go.
Which, I mean, come on. And I had no idea there was this many Oriole fans in the area.
Right.
That was
all right. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to get to a lot more Rays and more of your comments in the 11 o'clock hour. And also at 10:30, Evan Klosky will join us. He'll talk some Rays as well. Coming up quickly, it will be David Zimroff. The coach will join us. We got a lot of basketball stories to hit, including the Caitlin Clark snub, or was it a snub? We're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group and Bay Area Modern Medical Center, of course, presented by Hydrate Heroes. Go to tryhydrateheroes.com to sign up and get your free 3-pack. That's tryhydrateheroes.com. Back in 3 with Coach Z. Stay with us. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group and my man Scott Jeeves, who lives right here and has long been a highly respected member of our community. He's a proud sponsor of the Tampa Riverwalk. Jeeves Law Group is also a proud sponsor of our Grand Central District in St. Pete and has neighborhood events throughout the year. He has an office on Central Avenue in St. Pete and one on South Howard in Tampa. You can't get more local than that. So when you need an attorney, you're going to hire some huge firm that advertises all over the state or the one that supports your favorite sports show. It's the Jeeves Law Group. We're local, we're trusted, and we get results. For personal injury and personal attention, call us for a free case evaluation. That's 8889-JEEVES. That's 8889-JEEVES. All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com.
JP here for Extravaganza Productions. You know, I've worked with these pros on so many big and small events. They recently did the Kappa Alpha Psi Grand Reunion, the Tampa RV Show Exhibit. They did the Skills Center opening of Tampa Bay. They can do those small events. They do the biggest of events. So if you were thinking about planning a meeting or special event, call the talented staff at Team EPI. They will give you a free creative meeting if you mention the JP Peterson Show. They will provide you with an exceptional experience. Heck, they'll even show you their huge warehouse with great props. Anything you want. They'll do it on time and on budget. You can reach them at their Tampa headquarters at 813-621-4700 or go to extravaganzaproductions.com. Tell them JP sent you.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. We're going to hit some hoops news here. We're presented by the great folks at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Coach Z, David Zimroff, joining us here, former assistant at USF FSU in Georgia, our basketball insider. What's up, Z? How are you?
JP, it's been a while, man.
Well, when the big stories hit, we get you on the line, bro. We got big stories all over basketball, my friend. And I
hear you. Let's get after it.
Let's get after it. First and foremost, Caitlin Clark did not make the Olympic team. I'm a little kind of on the fence here. There's good arguments against, good arguments for her being on the team. But Overarching, I'm looking at this saying, look, if it's even a question, she's certainly as good or better than Diana Taurasi, the numbers would suggest. If it's even a question for women's basketball, for the Olympics, for USA, for the fans, you put her on the team. You put her on the team. And also, I think it would be a great sign of unity for basketball and the country to see the WNBA players wrap their arms around Caitlin Clark and bring her to the Olympics and celebrate that moment together. That's my take. What's yours?
Well, I think your take and feelings are pretty much across the board the same for everybody. I look at it a couple of different ways, a little different. First of all, she's the biggest name in basketball currently in this world. There's nobody else that's talked about more than her. Okay? In terms of the Olympics, she missed the tryouts basically due to being in the NCAA tournament. So I don't know what the deal is with the tryouts, but she wasn't going to be able to try out. Would it have been great for all the fans? Would it have been great for the international game, the way she plays, the way she passes, the way she shoots? No doubt about it. But I go back to the dream team when Christian Laettner was put on.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, he was as big a name as they get. The guy never got in the game.
Yeah.
Hardly played. And they won games by 30, 40 points. Okay? So now you have her on the Olympic team. She's not getting minutes. Everybody's tuned in. Everybody wants to see her play. The games are out of reach to begin with. They're going to win by 20 or 30 whether she's on the team or not. So I think it's the best of both worlds, all right? It keeps her hungry for the next Olympics. It keeps her name in the news, that's for sure, not being on the team.
Yeah.
And, it just hurts the fans in terms of viewership. I don't think people are going to be tuning in the way they would have initially or, wanted to tune in. I mean, that's my opinion. I'm not as taken with it as much as everyone else. I just don't think she would have gotten the minutes. And I'll tell you what it would have done. It would have endeared her to those other 11 players, and it might have changed the perception some of the older players have of her.
Yes.
But I think all this media attention around her right now in terms of how she's treated, it needs to stop, okay? She's a competitive athlete. She's a great player. These are growing pains that a lot of rookies with big names face, male or female. And she, it needs to stop because the more it's talked about, the more it's going to continue happening. That's my opinion.
That's great points, all. And I did read an article that said one of the reasons they left her off was because they were afraid that the fans would be up in arms and would become a distraction if she didn't get minutes. So to your point, and I think that's fair. But also, like you said, they're winning by 20 or 30. Why wouldn't she get some minutes? And this is the part of it that that I think it can be symbolic in some ways. The fact that I think we all know what's going on in the WNBA, the jealousy, all of these things that are happening are, part of it is the run of play. I'm not stupid enough to think it's not. It's a physical league. It always has been. I know that. I've played against WNBA players, and they will knock your D in the dirt. They're big and they're strong. And I know I understand that part of it, but I also understand that she's not being embraced like she should be, in my opinion. And this would have been a great moment for a unity play for and all wearing a USA basketball jersey. So for the country, for the greater good, for the greater good of basketball, and I think those things matter. I think those things absolutely matter. And it's not like you're putting some scrub on the team in the international game. To your point. Where it's a much more wide open game. She wouldn't be certainly hacked and beaten up like she's being in WNBA. So I think she would flourish and she would play well. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? It just comes down to the jealousy and this older guard of the WA not wanting to see it and being overshadowed. I think that's a huge part of it, and I think they need to get over themselves in that realm. But
I agree with you. I think behind closed doors, there's a lot of discussion. But what's interesting about the whole Caitlin Clark thing is she has not created this with anything she has said or done. The media has made her into a bigger-than-life celebrity basketball player. She never asked for any of this. She's a player. She's a great player that's created an unbelievable following. And because the media attention is solely on her all through her junior and senior year of college and all through the draft and right up until today, they have made her the lead story. It doesn't even matter how the other teams are playing. I mean, there's some teams in the WNBA that are really big-time players. You know, there's a gal playing for the Liberty up in New York. Pretty sure that's the name. Sabrina Ionesco. Okay, that she's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't even hear her name mentioned right now.
Yeah.
Chelsea Plum, unbelievable. You don't hear her name mentioned. Brianna Stewart.
Asia Wilson.
I mean, there are players in the WNBA that are really big-time international famous, but you don't even hear their name mentioned because the media is totally, embraced the whole Caitlin Clark story. But she goes in a post-game press conference. She's unbelievable. I wish people would just realize the way she's handled all this is amazing for a 22-year-old player.
Agreed. Z, let's move on to Danny Hurley. The Lakers made the pitch yesterday. He said it was a very compelling pitch. I don't know the numbers, but they got to be off the charts in terms of money. But he's still mulling over staying at UConn. Did you see this coming? Would it work? Your thoughts on the whole deal?
I've known Danny Hurley since he's a high school basketball player. Because we were pretty involved with St. Anthony's program throughout my career. Is he a great coach? Obviously, boy, that's an overplayed word. The guy can really coach. He can recruit. He's got the whole package. Here's what, if he was going to take this job, just off the wall stuff, he would have taken it already. All right. The guy was at a Billy Joel concert Saturday night. He flew in Thursday. He did everything Friday, flew back Friday night. Saturday, the guy's at Billy Joel concert in the Garden. Recruiting, I believe, starts today. Unless something's happened since we've been on the air, I don't see him taking the job. I did see one thing about what the salary would be, 8 years at $100 million. So what is that, 12 plus a year? I mean, that's less than a guy 15 minutes down the road, Ty Lue, is getting. Why would you even think about accepting a contract where you're not the highest paid basketball coach, at least in LA?
Yeah. That's a great point. Yeah.
So, again, do I think he'd do a great job there? Yeah. But, all these brands that everybody talks about, it's a great brand, it's a great this, it's a great that. How come you don't ever hear anybody talking about the Kansas City Chiefs brand? That's not a great brand? The Lakers are the only great brand? Dallas Cowboys are the only. I mean, the Lakers have had their run. They were always going to be good, but it's not the end-all job in America.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
And I'm not sure I'd like to live in LA.
And half his money. So with the $100 million contract out there, what is it worth? $50 million?
Not much after taxes.
Guys will lose a lot of money living out there. I don't see him taking the job, but you know what? It's another thing. The media has created this where it's a bigger story than the NBA Finals, for God's sake.
Right. Isn't that crazy how that works? And speaking of the NBA Finals.
Crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of the finals, I watched most of that game last night. The Celtics are really good. They're fantastic. They're well coached.
Yeah.
They're super deep. They play great defense. They got size. They're just really, really good. That said, Dallas has not played well. And that's because of, give Boston credit for that. And Kyrie Irving had opportunities last night, multiple times to hit big shots and went 7 for 19, I believe. Luka can't do it all by himself, and the other guys just aren't stepping up. But it just seems like this, might as well hand the trophy to the Celtics at this point.
Well, a couple things on that. Game 3 in Dallas Wednesday night can change the whole series and the feelings around where the Celtics are in terms of sweeping this or, winning it. Okay, everything can change. That's one thing in the NBA. In the finals, 7-game series, anything can change the momentum of the series. So I think we all need to make sure about, what we think about Game 3. But what the Celtics have more than the Mavericks is this. They have more players that can change the outcome of a game if their superstars are not playing at their best. So if Tatum and Brown are just playing okay or good, you still got Drew Holiday, who basically was the best player on the court last night.
Yep.
You got the kid White, who changes the game defensively, offensively. And then nobody's talking about this. Porzingis came in the game the other night and had 18 points in the first quarter.
Yeah,
Dallas doesn't have anybody else on their roster that can change the outcome of a game other than Irving and Doncic. So it's really 5 guys that can change it, and that's not even counting Al Horford. 5 guys that can change the game as opposed to 2. Washington can make threes, this and that for the Mavericks, but they don't have the roster to do that, or at least the top 6 players are completely different on both squads.
Well, we'll see if Game 3 can change this. Appreciate you, Z. As always, my friend, if folks want great instruction for their youngins, I know you got your summer camps going on right now. How do they get in touch with you?
We had our first session at summer camp last week. It was sold out. It was great. Anybody who wants any information about my camps or my training can just email me at dzimroth@brighthouse.com.
All right, brother. Great stuff as always, my friend. We'll catch up soon. Thanks.
You got it, JP. See it.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side. Evan Klosky is going to join us, and we will definitely dig into a little bit more of the Rays' frustrations. We'll talk some Buccaneers as well. Saw Evan out at Bucs camp this past week. They got their mini camp coming up this week, so we'll get into that as well and probably talk a little UT baseball. All that and more when we come back here. The JP Peterson Show brought to you by Italiano Insurance. They just saved me another $1,000 on auto insurance again. Just let them do all the work. They'll do that for your homeowners. They saved us, $500 on the homeowners as well. New companies coming in. 813-877-7799. Italiano Insurance. Get that great customer service. Back in 3. Stay with us. Are you looking to be more productive and healthier? Do you know chronic dehydration affects your overall health and well-being? 75% of the U.S. population suffers from dehydration, and many of us don't even know it. That was me before I was introduced to Hydrate Heroes. 8 times the benefits with hydration. A beverage with benefits more than just hydration. That's right, 8 times the benefits with hydration. Hydrate Heroes provides a refreshing, great-tasting beverage powder to mix with water, providing elderberry, zinc, vitamin D, electrolytes, amla fruit, which provides a great source of vitamin C, along with a proprietary mushroom blend that has shown to help increase endurance and energy at the cellular level. Hydrate Heroes is so confident you're going to love the taste and the results. They are offering our listeners a special offer, a free 3-pack sample, no credit card needed. Just go to the jppetersonshow.com, the jppetersonshow.com, and click on Hydrate Heroes logo. Hydrate for health today with Hydrate Heroes. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA 2-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808. Hey, the Golden Diamond Source Memorial Day sale is on. You got a graduation coming up right now. You want to get a gift? What better way than to go to the Gold and Diamond Source right now? Your destination for over 40 years, if you can dream it. They have it all under one roof. Folks, graduation gifts are very, very special. So get them something shiny, something that will last a lifetime. And that's the Gold and Diamond Source. They have a tremendous selection there, great customer service. And of course, if you're selling or trading jewelry right now, you can get the highest trade-in value of the year for your diamonds. Upgrade today and use that money towards a graduation gift. It's the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Overton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement costs, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. They will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. As we roll on here on a Monday, Nick Geddes from On3 Sports joining me here. Evan Klosky here will join us momentarily, and we'll get his thoughts on some of the day's topics. I didn't get to hear your thoughts, Nick, on the Caitlin Clark, as we had to roll through that pretty quick with Z.
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides of it. Like personally, do I think that she belonged on the team? Probably not. Because, I mean, to me, representing your team at the Olympics is like a special spot, usually what I would reserve for the best of the best. And not saying that Caitlin Clark hasn't done a great job, or I shouldn't say great, a good job, I would say, so far in her career. But there's been ups and downs. I don't think, objectively speaking, that she is a top 12 American-born player in the league right now. And there's a lot of seniority who is representing our country at the Olympics on that team. And have been doing it for a while. And from what I understand, there's been camps going on for this stuff for like the past 3 years. Obviously, she hasn't been a part of that. So, it's not one of those things like we don't have to give her everything right away. I think, she kind of said, it's something to work for. Like, I think she was extremely gracious in her
she
comments
said all the right things
the other day. She said all the right things, which I think that's the important part of it. And I think Z hit on it there, is so much of this has been a just massive media-driven just firestorm. With her career right now. Does she deserve that? Probably not, to be honest with you. I think she's been wrapped up in all these different narratives. Some of them have zero to do with anything that she's doing right now in that league. But that is such as media. We all know how the game works. But yeah, I don't think it's the end of the world that she's not on that team. If she pans out the way that many think she will, then in 4 years, she will be on that team. Like she said, it's something to work towards. So I didn't think anything of it, to be honest with you. But the other part of that I do know is, at least on the men's side, I'm not as familiar with the women's side when it comes to the history. Mm-hmm. But on the men's side, I feel like the marketing factor to it has always played a role when it comes to these things. Like you go back to Christian Laettner, he's the greatest example. Like that was the dream team. And we talk about all the great players who were on that dream team. We talk about some of the players who were snubbed from that team. And then we look at the fact that Christian Laettner, before he'd even stepped foot in the NBA, was put on that team. More recently, 2012, Anthony Davis, before he'd even stepped foot on an NBA court, he was on that 2012 team, which is probably considered the second greatest United States team ever put together. So again, there's that history already there when it comes to USA Olympic basketball, that we usually will just put these young players who were the star of colleges on these teams. And I think it's mostly a marketing standpoint, more so than them getting a chance to play. But as Z kind of mentioned, she probably wasn't going to play much anyway if she was there. And if she's not playing, well, guess what? It just becomes one big distraction. That's what it becomes.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a big deal, to be honest.
Yeah, those are all great points, and I think it could have been a huge win either way. To be quite honest, I do think it would have been, because they're going to win it going away anyway.
Oh, right.
Would it have crushed USA basketball to kind of wrap their arm around her and the players? All these stars that are in the league, right? I'm talking about the bigger picture here, the much bigger picture here on a bunch of different levels. Would it have killed them to, just basically said, let's put her on the team, let's embrace her? Let's be honest. She set the record for most points in the history of NCAA. She's averaging 17 points a game as a rookie, which I think is one of the top numbers in the history of the game.
Right.
She has not been the most dominant player in the league, but she's 14th in the league in scoring. Those are all-star. Those are all-star level numbers,
right?
So it's not like this. Oh, we're just giving her a spot because she's a white girl. No, that's not what's happening.
Well,
here.
No, I don't look at it like that at all. I'm
not saying that you're saying that, but I think some people are.
Yeah, and that's what I meant by there's an unfortunate part of this, that she's been wrapped up in these conversations that she didn't put on herself at all. Like, she hasn't responded to any of this stuff. She's been extremely gracious at everything that she says and blocked out all the distractions and the noise from what I've seen. But I guess, and I'm not going to claim and lie to the folks out here and tell you that I watch a lot of WNBA basketball. I'm probably just like majority of the casual viewer, that if Caitlin Clark's playing, I might tune in for a little bit. I might not, whatever. At the end of the day, basketball is basketball to me. It's not my favorite sport in the world. That's just me.
Right.
So I'm not going to claim that I'm familiar with all these players, but if I look at it from a statistical standpoint, you could say, okay, well, what about she could have been in front of that team instead of Diana Taurasi?
Right. That's. I mean, she's
that's
got better
numbers to point at
than her. Yeah.
But this. Diana Taurasi's what, 39 years old, I think.
Yeah.
This is probably her last go around.
Yeah,
at the Olympics,
she's been on 5 teams,
and she's on the Mount Rushmore of women's basketball of all time. So if they're going to give her one last hurrah in the Olympics, I don't have a problem with that. And she's still playing at a high enough level to warrant that spot.
Yeah, true. This is one of those arguments that there's great arguments both ways, and I will defer to what I would call the overarching global view of this. As I think this would have been a great opportunity for the WNBA and those players in that hierarchy of the league to embrace her as their own and all move forward and to get to know her. And as you said, so much of this is media driven and not her fault. It's got a kind of a Tebow feel to it a little bit, right? Where it's, it was the Tebow Nation and the distraction that brought for the most part that kept him from getting another job. It's like, because if he's the backup quarterback, we don't want to hear all that. We don't want to hear all, and I totally get that. I totally get it. Let's bring in our good friend Evan Klosky from Channel 10 Sports, WTSP. What's up, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm glad you just text me directly and we figure it out.
Yeah, sorry about that. Oh, my bad on the link up there. But we're kicking around the Caitlin Clark thing, so I might as well ask you your thoughts on. I don't even know if it should be called a snub, but I got so many feelings on this. I think it would have been a great moment of unity for the country, for the WNBA to bring her into the fold and embrace her and see those, them high-fiving her all in the same uniform. I think it could have been a really good healing moment on a grand scale. And I think maybe that was missed a little bit. And it wouldn't have been a stretch from a basketball sense putting her on. So, but I see a lot of the other arguments too. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of agree a little bit with what you're saying as well. I mean, for those on the outside looking in who think that Caitlin Clark on this team was going to be somebody that played significant amount of time, or she's the best in the world, then you are a little bit naive to what the talent is and who's experienced and who has played in the Olympics. It's a little bit different than the men's world, where we got to try to cross fingers that our best players are going to show up and play.
Yeah.
We're pretty much on our B and our C teams when we send our squad to the Olympics, as opposed to the women who everyone wants to play in it, right? The best of the best play. So, I agree. I think that typically on the men's side, if you were, to have the best of the best, usually they do bring along somebody to sit on the bench and not somebody to play necessarily this go around, but knowing that, hey, in 4 years you're probably going to be a part of this team. We want
A
you to have
future
that
leader.
experience,
Yeah.
and
Another
kind of
great point.
learn from the vets. So to me, I think that would have brought value. I think it would have been nice. I understand the distraction element. I do think that at some point you do have to embrace her to a degree. At least with the Tebow mania stuff. I mean, he won a playoff game, but Tebow was never really as skilled naturally as like Caitlin Clark is.
Agreed.
I mean, the
Yeah.
things that she does on a basketball court, we don't see unless it's like Steph Curry doing it in the NBA. So she does provide an element of wow factor that I do think the WNBA hasn't fully embraced. I think a lot of people around her have embraced her, but I do think there's like I think with the whole Caitlin Clark discussion, I think people try to make it into like, oh, it's one thing. It's like, no, it's like 8 different things.
It's
It's
a
like,
lot.
there's a little bit of this to it. There's a little bit of that. And, but in the end, I think this is part of the growth of the sport. I do think that this is the first time that the sports and a lot of its players are being tested, not only in the debate driven world that we're in right now. How many people really are out there having hard debates about WNBA players? Like they're being put to the test right now, which isn't really normal for them because they've gone about usually their college career, their pro career, and they've done about their business. So I think that's good. I think they're being thrust into a new stratosphere, which is great. But along that, they do have to figure this space out a little bit, and they can't control every narrative and angle that they want, which is something that I'm sure they can look to their male counterparts and say, look, we know, right? Like there's a lot of BS you're going to have to deal with, and you're going to have to just shrug off, and you can't just combat, media members who are showing up just for Caitlin Clark and trying to shove it down their throats that, hey, there's more to it than that. You're going to have to lean into it and take the high road and just allow her light to also shine light on us versus trying to dim that light, which is not going to work in your favor. You're never going to win that battle. So I think there's a little bit of a messaging issue that just needs to be like, hey, let's get on the same page here. Let's, when people ask us about this, we're all going to say that. And then in the grand scheme of things, just know that in the long run, by embracing Caitlin now, it is going to help everybody else out. But as far as like the Olympic stuff goes, how that process is and who deserves to be on the team, I think that as you kind of mentioned before, there are certain elements there, and if they believe that 12 is the best of the 12, and then so be it. I mean, it's a little bit of a different debate than the WNBA stuff as a whole.
Think about those images, if it were to be, of Caitlin Clark in a USA uniform and all the hierarchy that are on this WNBA team. Brittany Griner and Ineski, all these, they are the stars. And she's, as you said, bringing the light to all of them. And if they're all high-fiving, winning gold medals, she's standing there with all of them and they're hugging. I mean, what a great message that would be. I mean, that would clean up all the crap that's going on right now. Her cleans it all up in 2 weeks. It's all done. And you move forward with this beautiful spotlight of unity. I think it would send a great message to the country as well. We can do this. We can do this. But instead, what are we doing? No, sorry, not this time. Not you, not now. Doesn't move any of it forward. I think it's a tremendous missed opportunity.
Yeah, and I think missed opportunity is a good way to put it, because I think you can also use this opportunity to teach us, the general public, I'm going to say, not like you and me, but us, a lesson like, hey, like, look, she's not going to play, but I want you guys to watch all this wonderful talent that we have, the experience that we have, and we're going to deliver gold and so on and so forth. And there might be some chirping from the public about wanting to see her more. Oh man, they were up 80-30. Why couldn't she play a couple minutes? Whatever. In the end,
they should put her in at that point.
Yeah,
let her freaking play.
At that point, we can have those discussions. But the whole thing is she does not need to start on that team, and allow you guys as Team USA to tell the public, look, we have our starting five. They've won a couple of golds with us. Like we want her to be a part of the team. She's going to be a part of Team USA in the future. But, for now, she's got to learn from the vets. And I think that would be a great reminder to the public in a very, roundabout way of what you're saying as well, of like, hey, we're embracing her, but she also has to go through this process just like everybody else did who's starting right now, right? But you didn't see that part. So I think that would be a good educational lesson for a lot of the public to kind of, hey, come watch our games. If it's a blowout, hopefully it is, you'll see her. If not, come watch the game and watch what we got. So I think that there's an element of that too. And but yeah, I personally, I mean, just from the outside looking in, I don't know how she's not a top 12 player, or obviously someone who's not going to be on the next roster. So, I do like soccer does this as well all the time. They bring in people onto the team who are never going to sniff the field, and they want to make sure that in the next cycle they have people who understand the messaging. And I think passing that baton is really important, and I feel like she would be someone who is going to play on Team USA for the next 3 Olympics, so not including this one. So I thought that would have been a good move, but whatever, I think everyone's learning over there just kind of how to deal with everything right now, and it is what it is.
All right, we'll move on to another topic that I know you're very passionate about, and that's your Tampa Bay Rays. And boy, are they bad. So I don't know if you still do this, but back, when I was doing the 11 o'clock and producing my own show, I would have to watch every effing pitch. And there were years where they were really bad. This was, pre-08, pre-Madden. And it was dreadful. And because I had to watch every pitch because I had to cut the highlights for the show. Mm-hmm. Do you have to do that? You have to do that? Are you doing that?
Yeah, I watch. It's so fun.
You poor human being, you need a raise.
It's so funny because there are so many times that I do think to myself, like, wow, I'm like, probably it'll be like an 11-1 game or something. And I'll be like, man, I'm the only one watching this, trying to like see if there's like a diving catch that I can extract some positive from. I will say once in a blue moon, there is that moment where you're watching the 8-1 game and it's like 8-7 and you're you're telling people, like, I don't know if you guys are noticing this, but like a comeback is brewing. I think back to the one, like, it was in San Diego or something, maybe it was 0-1. I don't know, like the Rays scored like 8 or 9 in an inning or something. I was just like, what the hell is happening here? But yeah, I do have to sit through all the pitches. And this way, and you understand and how I always feel, right? Like, I have to watch everything so that when I'm disseminating the news or I have an opinion, that it's a valued opinion, so that I can, I'm not out here just, saying whatever. So it's like, look, I'm watching all the at-bats, and sometimes people say stuff. It's like, yeah, later in the game, I thought they were better, just nothing yielded it. But, right now, these they kind of are who they are at this point. And maybe it'll get a little bit better. I think that there is a natural regression to the mean that will happen in a positive direction with some of these hitters. We're seeing it a little bit with Randy right now. We're seeing it a little bit with Yandy right now. But in general, they're not built for power. I mean, their home run differential is awful. It's going to be it's going to be north of like 100. It's going to be north of like 140. It's and you can't be a successful team like that. And I think last year they maybe played a bit over their heads on what some of their numbers were, and we kind of learned that in July of last year when they came back down to earth all at once. So maybe they're somewhere in the middle between what they did, the historic highs that they had last year and the historic lows they're having this year. They're probably somewhere in the middle of that, but that's just not how the seasons went.
And I guess, like, based on where we are right now, like, we're far from like late in the season, but we're also not really like early anymore. We're starting to get to that point where you have to make a determination of, who are we as a baseball team? And I've been saying, at best, and I think their record has been indicative of that, like, bang average. Like they'll get back to 500, beating the Marlins. And then they run into a really good team like Baltimore. And to be fair, Baltimore's, probably a top 5 team in baseball, clearly. And you see how far off of it they look. But with all that being said, I mean, what do you think is your personal cutoff point, at least from the organization standpoint of, hey, we might need to start looking at some of our veteran players that we had. And I know we've had this core and we've been really successful, but now's probably the time to strike while the iron's hot. Maybe while these guys have some value. I don't think they're at their peak value, clearly, because they're not playing well, but we might have to start offloading some guys.
Yeah, and first off, I think that's kind of happening now. I'll say there's 7 weeks until the trade deadline, so there's no way they're going to be buyers. Now they might not be huge sellers in like a perfect picture, right? Let's say things turn around, they might not sell a lot, but they're certainly not going to buy. Per Fangraphs, they have about a 20% chance of making the playoffs. Pretty much all of these teams, there are like 5 to 6 middling teams in the AL, and they're all competing for that final wild card spot. If we were under the old system of 2 wild card teams,
no
the
shot.
playoffs would be over already. That's why they've instituted this third wild card spot, because essentially everyone would be out of it. So they have a chance to sneak into that third wild card spot. Having said that, they have the toughest schedule remaining. They really, there's 2 sides of the coin. A, they blew some opportunities against some really easy teams, a la losing 4 to the White Sox. B, they also played a lot of bad teams when they were bad. So they might have salvaged their season a little bit earlier, considering they were able to kind of maintain 500 around those squads. But I think that it would be foolish and it would be irresponsible to not think that they need to tinker at minimum to get themselves prepared for 2025. And I think that they should have a really honest discussion with themselves and say, are we 2025 focused or are we 2026 focused? Now, this could be a blip on the radar. The Yankees stunk last year. They were not that bad of a team, but they did add Juan Soto, and the whole dynamic changed. The Cleveland Guardians were awful last year. They were a team that perennially went to the playoffs, and just last year didn't work out. Boom, this year, everything kind of corrected itself. So, and the Rays have the pitching entering next year on paper to be a stud team, that their pitching will carry the day. I do think, though, that the hitting is a problem. I think that it's hard to imagine that the guys that you have on this team are going to yield you the home runs that are necessary. I think you are very absent of power. Yandy, it looks like that's an outlier last year. Based on Yandy
absolutely.
should be a 300 hitter with like 10 homers. He's not a home run guy, max 10. Randy, even when he's at his best, we're talking about 20 to 25. Josh Lowe, when he's at his best, 20 to 25. Isaac Paredes, hopefully, is 30. But, I mean, we're talking about a team that, when you put all the pieces together, maybe at max value, you're talking about 100, 150. It's nothing that's going to wow you. It's so then you got to hope that, so that's what I'm saying. And it comes at a cost. Like Jose Siri will have 20 home runs, but he's going to have 1 million strikeouts.
Right.
He's got great defense.
Mostly solo shots. Exactly.
So my thought process is, if you want to go, if you want to tinker and do some things for 2025, I get it. I don't believe you're as bad as you're kind of showing this season, and the pitching is going to get better next year for sure when you got like 3 studs coming back off the IL. Having said that, Carson Williams, Junior Caminero, Xavier Isaac, Chandler Simpson, these are all guys who I believe are going to be starters for the Rays one day. They're prospects. And Junior will probably be up at the end of this year. Those other guys will be sprinkled throughout 2025 and into 2026. So really, you're not going to see the fruitions of your farm system, who will provide a boost in speed, who will provide a boost in power, until 2 years from now. So if we're being honest, you have help on the way, but it ain't coming next year. It's probably going to show itself in 2026, which then is why you have to come to that decision now, because you don't need to keep Yandy for just 1 year.
Or Randy.
Randy for sure. Randy's more of at this point it kind of comes down to the fact if they can get value for him, it makes sense.
Yeah.
If his value is so tanked, you might as well keep him. I would, unless someone wants to give you something in the offseason, but I would actually pay and bring him into next season. Hope that he recoups his value, then sell him.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to just sell the stock.
He's a proven playoff performer, so maybe somebody takes a look at that at the end of the trade deadline and says we need a little juice and makes you an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah, I agree.
Evan, people hear me rail about ownership in the stadium all the time. I'll give you an opportunity here in terms of baseball terms. And I said this at the beginning of the show, this is a problem with putting the stadium in St. Petersburg. Your maximum revenues for the next 30 years are on the Hillsborough side. That's where you come be competitive as a baseball team, because the premium seating and the luxury boxes are the key. And the big businesses in Tampa are not doing that in St. Pete. That's been a problem for 25 years. It's a major revenue draw. And if they build this thing, it's going from a competitive standpoint, you're still going to be in the crapper because of that loss of revenue. And that's why I think it's an existential mistake if they do this from a baseball standpoint. In 10 years, you'll have a stadium. The team will probably be dead in the water because they can't compete from a revenue standpoint, especially if they have the same ownership. So from a long-term standpoint, I just think they need a lot of change.
Yeah, I mean, there's the other side of the coin here with the stadium stuff in St. Pete. It's not. We know how the attendance is going to go, right? We have many a years of experience in this. There'll be a small boost when it opens, and then it will resort back to kind of where it's been. The whole point of what they're trying to do in St. Pete and what Stu is trying to do and what they're trying to work out with the contracts now is figuring out, hey, what are you obligated to do with the team, right? Are you just going to get this project and sell the team and still have a stake in the land? But theoretically speaking, let's ignore all the stuff that Stu selling the team once he gets the deal and just say Stu is in it for the long haul, right? He's going to make money now on the land. So pretty much the way that he counterbalances, well, I understand that nobody's showing up to the seats, but now I'm making money 365 days a year on this land because I have a stake in the restaurants. I have a stake in whatever museum we're putting in. I have a stake in all this stuff. So money's coming into my pocket, and that's the money that is not being used as far as butts in the stands. So that would be at least in my point, not to mention the discounted deal he's getting. So that would be my point of contention with Stu if he was ever going to, cry poor and say fans aren't showing up. I would say you knew that, and you're also making hand over fist money on the land. So, usually what happens in these type of deals, if they go through, we saw it happen in Miami, right? Hey, thank you guys for making a deal. I'm going to do right by you. I'm going to buy you a bunch of players. Look at us. We're in it now. And then, what was it? Jeffrey Luria, the next year sold everybody and said,
nothing happened.
Just kidding.
And then we're doing this.
And
let's just be honest. Stu's track record is not the greatest in that area.
Yeah. That point is all valid, all valid worries and complaints and whatnot. But theoretically speaking, the money, the business model that's set up at the Trop with the new St. Pete stadium, that would yield more money than what they have going on now because they're actually cashing in multiple buckets versus just saying, hey, we're dependent on people showing up to the stadium. So there is a little bit more. There's more money to come with this new deal with the stadium. Whether they invest it back into the product, I think that's on, if this deal goes through, that's on us in the media, fans, to really put pressure on them. Saying,
maybe that should be in the contract as well. You get this land, you got to have at least $100 million.
Yeah, I would they really.
Why not?
They really need to do those things.
Why not put that in there?
Things that need to be in the details.
Right. Absolutely.
Hey, to the point that you made though about the young players that are coming through, and there's a lot of promise. I've been following this. I've been born in Tampa. I've seen all these, we've seen the whole song and dance of, okay, we have this guy coming through the minors. And I went through the history of it last week, and I'm like, outside of Carl Crawford and Evan Longoria, at least from my count, I can't figure out another player they drafted / signed that they developed and became an all-star hitter. Like, obviously Randy came over, but that was a trade. Like, they've acquired some of these guys via trade, but I mean just straight up drafted, signed, developed, whatever, and gone on to be an all-star. And like Wander Franco, I think he's like the elephant in the room in this whole thing.
Yeah.
Is that set them back. I think that's fair to say that set them back a little. And you look at Baltimore as a great example. Now, they had to suck for years to get all these talents, but you still have to hit on those guys, clearly. And they have. But, I look at the Carson Williams and the junior Camineros, like, they really are. If we're talking about this team being competitive for the next, 5, 10 years, whatever it is, like, isn't so much of it on their shoulders, because that's where, to me, if you're not going to spend money, which we know the Rays are not going to spend money for like the big free agents that come available when they're like, 28, 29, 30, like, you've got to find a way to develop your own all-stars. And I think that's been a blind spot for this team.
Yeah, to an extent, yes. I think they actually, then you got to like lump arms into the mix too, right? Like Shane McClanahan. Like,
right, they've done great from a pitching standpoint, but just from a hitting standpoint.
Yeah, from a hitting, for sure. I think they for the longest time, they devalued power. I don't think and you're kind of seeing it. You've seen it recently with their draft picks, right? They brought in Braden Taylor. He's got a little pop to his game. They brought in Xavier Isaac. That guy, I mean, nobody really knew about him. They drafted him. Everyone's like, what the heck is this? And I saw a comparison. I forget the site. Somebody said that like the way that he's built or whatever is like Mike Schmidt. So like his projectables and all this stuff. So there's a lot of things that, look, prospects are hypotheticals, right? It's a hypothesis. We're trying to make the best educated guess that we can that they're going to be good players. But that's why, in my eyes, this core that they have, which is thinning out between like Pete and Yandy and Randy and Brandon Lau, Shane McClanahan, this core that got into the World Series a few years ago, you pretty much have 1.5 more years with them, and that's where you have to be brutally honest. Do I want to go in next year, try to make one last run with them? Totally fine if you do, but do you also want to think in the back of your head, maybe I can set up the next core that's going to be together for the next, 5 years or so? I can set them up even more by getting added talent to that team. They desperately need a catcher. I would say they need another outfielder who provides some pop on a future lineup. Then I think they're cooking with gas. But you mentioned Wander, and I think the general public does need to remember that Wander transformatively shifted the direction of this team.
He was the keystone. Absolutely.
Like, look at Cleveland. Cleveland's an amazing team. They got Jose Ramirez. And they got like Josh Naylor. They got some other guys who have come in along the way. But the person in the middle of that lineup always is Jose Ramirez. He's a stud. And the fact is, Wander was an all-star last year. He was a Hall of Fame talent. Like, I don't think the Rays are ever going to have a talent like Wander Franco come through their system again. He is once-in-a-generation type of player. And to have whatever happened, not only, you got none of it. You got 1 year of it, essentially, a half a year. And he's still super young. He was going to grow into that body a little bit more. He was a world-class shortstop, a defensive shortstop. He was pretty much going to be a 5-6 WAR player for you. Think about, like, at the end of the season, just add 6 wins. That's what Wander Franco would have been. Yep. So you can't. The organization, that's why I don't like it when people are like, oh man, the organization, like, they miscalculated this season. And it's like, I don't know how the organization was supposed to handle losing their like once in a generation player that was supposed to be on this team for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, in retrospect, they never wanted to trade Luke Raley, but they had to because they needed a shortstop because Taylor Walls was injured and there was literally no one to play the shortstop position entering the season. So there's a ripple. So even beyond Wander, they lost Luke Raley because of Wander. Yep. So there's a ripple effect. They lost 2 players because of this whole thing. So it just sucks. It absolutely sucks. And just it sucks from an off-field perspective of what allegedly happened. It sucks from an on-field perspective of how it's really hurt the beef of this team and the the sun, right? The planets need to go around the sun. He was the sun. And now you need to find a new sun. So that's my whole point is like next season, do you think there's really going to be a sun available? Or is it possible that maybe between Junior, between Carson, between Xavier Isaac, maybe not all of them hit, but
they got to have them.
But maybe one of them is the real deal. That could be your son. And to me, it might be better suited to set your team up for that and for those people.
I agree.
And look at the contract and look at guys who you're going to get more for a guy like Pete Fairbanks this year because he's got an extra year of control. You got Yandy Diaz next year and then a club option again. So he's got another 2 years after this year, I believe. So there are a lot of players who you can sell now to teams who will give you more because at least those teams are getting an extra year out of them versus, look, they'll probably get rid of Sean Armstrong only because he's on a 1-year deal and you'll get something for him. But he's a free agent next year. So you're not going to get as much as someone like maybe Jason Adam, who has multiple years. Now, I'm not saying to trade all these guys. I don't think you should. You need to keep some of these pieces because at some point you are completely kind of tanking 2025, and I don't think you need to do that.
We'll tank this year anyway.
If someone comes in with a hero offer for some of these guys, I think you got to greatly consider it versus just saying no. So that's my whole point of saying this discussion is not like I don't think they should like sell everybody, but they have to really be open to saying like, wow, is someone completely overpaying for this person? Is it worth it for us to keep them for another year or two versus, hey, this is going to set up, we're going to bring, like, these are going to be pieces we're going to bring up next year, and then they're probably going to be impactful in 2026. So, and I don't want to see, like, don't be making these deals, like, for Pete Fairbanks for guys who are, like, complex league guys. They need to be ready to help 2025, 2026.
Yeah, we got to, look at the Orioles. Watch them tonight. They went through 5 years of hell. I don't want to go through that year, but you got to me, it's tear down time. Tear it down, just like the stadium. Tear it down and rebuild everything. It's time to do it. And I think you make great points in all of those guys. Evan, tell everybody what's coming up on Channel 10, what you guys got cooking. Do a little promotion for yourself here.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're right now in the midst of race season. Hopefully it turns around. We'll see.
Move on to the Bucks.
We got mandatory mini camp coming up this week, so we'll be out there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of that. And then just make sure you head to 10tampabay.com, 10 Tampa Bay Plus, and then check me out on the 6 and the 11 o'clock news, and we'll get you covered here. We're investing in our stories now. Once the Bucks get out of mandatory mini camp, we got a good 6 weeks of really getting into our community. So that's going to be the plan.
You guys do a great job, Evan. You especially. So keep up the great work. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
All right. One of the best in the business there, Evan Klosky. Really appreciate this work. I tell him this privately, so I might as well say it on the show as well. He does as good a job as anybody I've seen in this market in a long, long time. He really does. He puts the work in. There's a lot of extra stuff. The website has a lot of his more longer form works. So check it out. He's doing a hell of a job. And I think he gives a great perspective on all of the different sports we have. We don't have a whole lot of that in the market. So I really appreciate what he does. He and Dan Lucas and even the guys at Fox 13, these local TV, if they only gave him a little bit more time, for God's sakes.
I was going to say, the local TV sports guys are all just humming right now.
Yeah, they really doing a hell of a job. Yeah. I think Channel 28 dropped their sports, didn't they?
Channel what?
Channel 28, ABC.
I think they still have the guys, but I think Evan though he's turned into from a standpoint, especially with the Rays, I think you'll find nobody better on TV than Evan.
Yeah,
nobody better.
He like I said, he's got to watch every pitch. It's freaking.
I don't watch every pitch. That's for sure.
Brutal. No, but if you're cutting your highlights, you got to, because otherwise,
right.
If you just get what's fed down to you, you're not getting the full story, and that's your job, and you need to watch every. It might even be some nuanced thing, and I apologize because I can't do it anymore. I just can't watch every. I try to go through the tape and see the most nuanced stuff, but it's hard, man. It's really, really hard, and I don't I don't think the interest is there this year. You know, in years past, there's been a lot of Rays interest, but I think, don't you sense that, Nick, that it's kind of waned a little bit?
Well, see, here's the thing. I have to remind myself that Twitter's not the real world sometimes. But from an engagement standpoint, I do feel like there is a lot of people, at least on Twitter, who think very, like I said, it's very split on how people feel about the Rays. Like there's they call them Top Gun reply guys on Twitter, JP. Is what they're called. If you look at every time Top Gun puts out a tweet like so-and-so gives up a 3-run home run and the Rays are down, whatever, and you go through the comments, it's like, the Rays suck. I'm done watching. This team's awful. Like they're all like that. And people call them Top Gun reply guys because they're always doom and gloom, like from the first pitch of the season on. And then you have some other fans who are diehards who go to the games, and credit to them for that because we need people going to those games.
Absolutely.
And they follow the team and do a really good job of trying to, build a community for themselves on Twitter. And they have more of an optimistic spin on it. So like there's two sides of the coin there when it comes to Rays fans. I think there is general interest still there. But of course, when you don't have the most entertaining product and you're trying to watch it at home, let's put all this into grand scheme of things. We're complaining about, I have to watch every pitch of baseball. Like it ain't that bad. It ain't that bad on the grand scheme of things. I don't want this to sound like, we're so good we can't watch baseball every single night. But it's just not an entertaining brand right now. That's not. And last year it was.
I'm watching some other good shows. So, listen, I want to connect the Caitlin Clark and the Rays situation a little bit when we come back. There's a ton of other stuff to talk about too with the Gators win yesterday. Holy shit, that was unbelievable. FSU rolling in their regional as well. There's a lot of good baseball going on. It's just not the Rays. We got that. Lots more to get to on the national front as well and the local front with UT baseball. So we'll take another break. Don't forget about the Father's Day sale going on at the Gold and Diamond Source right now. The Father's Day sale. You've got 5 years interest-free financing, folks, at the Gold and Diamond Source, which means you can get a $5,000 watch for $83 a month. So if you want to get something for Dad that's nice and shiny that he will love and will be forever, that's where you go. The Gold and Diamond Source cufflinks are still a nice gift. The tie tag, those things, whatever the hell they don't wear ties, so whatever the tie rack, whatever the hell it is. Anyway, get that. They love those things as well if you wear ties. Lots of good things to select at the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. Keep it local. Back in 3. Stay with us. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group and my man, Scott Jeeves. If you're going to hire an attorney, do you want some guy looking for a quick settlement and a quick buck, or do you want an attorney with some chops? Scott is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator. Been practicing in the Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. He is a peer-reviewed AV preeminent-rated civil trial lawyer. They just don't hand out those classifications. He's been the lead class action counsel on many complex consumer protection cases and has handled hundreds of serious personal injury cases. He's dedicated his career to protecting injured victims and is committed to vigorously representing you. We're local, we're trusted, and we get results. Personal injury and personal attention. Call for a free case evaluation. That's 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. The Jeeves Law Group. All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com.
With over 34 years of producing small and large events, Extravaganza Productions is truly a Tampa treasure when it comes to creating some of the very best events in Tampa and all across the United States. I've worked with them at the Florida Sports Hall of Fame inductions, the Warrior Games, which was an Olympic-sized event spread across all of Tampa Bay. They are the very best, from small meetings to exceptionally large corporate conferences to galas, fundraisers, sporting events, grand openings, whatever you want. Team EPI has an extremely talented staff of designers and show producers that develop extraordinary events fueled by the visions of their clients. You can reach them at their Tampa headquarters at 813-621-4700 or go to extravaganzaproductions.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here as we roll on this Monday. Lots of Rays talk. Go get your comments in here as well. You can always comment on YouTube or on Facebook or at FanStream JP, and we'll get your comments up here. We love you guys chipping in. Rick says, did Evan just blast Stu? I guess he hates the skateboard community. No City Connect jersey for you. Yeah, those jerseys have lost their luster. Stu is saying the focus is fiscal year 1950. Sell. Meets McGee, what's up, bro? The women of the WNBA letting their jealousy and envy hurt their purses. This reminds me of the Tiger Woods earlier years. It's not like at the beginning, but the presence helped the players make money. Absolutely. I think it's very analogous. And there were a lot of players, the Fuzzy Zellers of the world that needed to, get their head out of their ass and understand what was really going on. So that's important. And as I was saying, with the Rays and the Caitlin Clark thing, I think sometimes you just have to look at the broader picture of it. And it's not just about what's going on this year and what's going on in this moment, but what, certain moves that can be done that can secure your future long ahead. And, I think it's misguided in both directions, especially this Olympic thing. And I get it. There's great arguments on both sides, but sometimes you have to look at the bigger picture and what the future of the game is for the WNBA. Is it true that she may not be one of the best 12? Yeah, that's absolutely true. But also, international basketball is a lot about role playing. And you don't necessarily take your best 12. I'm trying to remember which team it was. It was one of the years. John Thompson was the coach, and he took 12 really good basketball players to the Olympics, but he had no 3-point shooting, zero 3-point shooting. And in the international game, it's all about the threes. You've got to have perimeter shooting, and they got trounced. So sometimes you need she or he may not be the best 3-point shooter, but you needed Dan Marley on that team, to be able to knock down the threes and space out the floor. You need Caitlin Clark to knock down threes, and they got a lot of good 3-point shooters on this Olympic team. So it's not maybe a apples to apples comparison, but to say that she couldn't help this team win is ridiculous because of her 3-point shooting alone. She's one of the, if not the best 3-point shooter in the game.
Yeah, and I was going to say a comparison to that. If you look at the men's basketball roster for the Olympics this year, which shout out to the stars, they're all playing. Finally. Yeah. But you know who the one player who sticks out because he's not a superstar on that team? And people might have been like, oh, why is he going and not this star? It's Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
But you know what? Drew Holiday, pay attention to Boston.
Exactly.
Pay attention to how different Boston looks this year. And who did they acquire in the offseason? Drew Holiday. He's the perfect glue guy that you want on championship winning teams. And that's why he's going to the Olympics. Guys love playing with him, and he's willing to do stuff that other guys are not willing to do. Yeah. And that's why he's extremely valuable, and he's on that team. So sometimes it's not always about, hey, let's put the best 12 we have together or the best whatever together. I'm aware of that. But again, it is what it is.
I just can't underscore enough that the visuals and what you could accomplish in these 2 weeks that would help grow the game immeasurably. All these players that complain about not being seen and not being, people, guess what? This is a way to get seen. And people go, damn, that Agumbawale, she can shoot, Yeah.
Yeah. Or even and honestly, probably ignorant on our part when we mentioned all these other players that, probably deserve some spotlight too. We never even mentioned like who is the undisputed best player in the league. And it's A'ja Wilson.
Yeah.
Like, and I understand it. If you're a WNBA hardcore fan and you've been following the league for a long time, you probably already think of these people as stars and go, okay, well, why aren't they getting the pub? Because, like, I get it. Look at A'ja Wilson's numbers, for example. She's averaging 28 points per game this year in the WNBA. She is undisputably, no argument about it, the best player in the league. And you don't see her getting nearly the amount of pub as Caitlin Clark, or I'd argue even some other players, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I understand it. If you're a WNBA hardcore, that probably irritates you.
Right.
But again, you can't, it's hard. You can't control what catches on to the general public and the casual fan and what doesn't. I mean, that's just part of it.
If you're afraid of sharing your spotlight with Caitlin Clark, I'll ask you this question. Would you like, 100% of 100,000 people watching you or 10% of 15 million? Do the math. It's
right.
I mean,
and even look at the numbers. I mean, if you look at some of the games that she's played, regular season games on the worst team in the league, by the way, with the Indiana Fever,
right?
Like those games are going to end up outdrawing probably all of the Stanley Cup final games that are on ABC.
And I love the fact that people point to Caitlin's turnovers. Well, turnovers can be the fault of the passer and can also be the part of the receiver, just like interceptions. She's playing with a bad team. And I think some of those I'm not saying she hasn't made some bad passes. She has. She just still needs to get used to the speed of the game. There's no question about it. She thinks that she can thread the needle in certain places where she can't. And she'll learn. That's just part of it. The great players always adjust. And so, but a lot of those turnovers are, kids, other players fumbling perfect passes that she sends their way. Turnover, who's the turnover on? Take your pick. So it can be a lot of different things, but the bottom line is I know that she would not be out of place on that team. This would not be a ceremonial selection as many would say. I think she certainly has a role on that team as a 3-point shooter and an important role, could play some meaningful minutes. And again, the message that you're sending, all the crap that you've already done that's pissed off a lot of the casual fans, you could rectify in 2 weeks. You could change the entire fortunes of the WNBA in 2 weeks if the players would just all rally around her. And it's like, is it that much? Is it that hard to ask?
I would argue. I mean, I'd have to pull up, all the viewership numbers, but regardless of how negative sometimes these discussions have become with Caitlin Clark, and they're very long form discussions, and some of it, like I said, has merit to it, and some of it doesn't. I don't know if that's really affecting the viewership necessarily. If anything, like I said, kind of last week, like there's something to, any press is good press, and it's leading shows and everything. Like during a time like where the NBA finals are going on, you would think that would lead every show. Well, now people are talking about this. Like at some point, we just have to stop. Like I said a couple weeks ago, we have to stop pointing to, well, why is it happening? I don't care. It's happening.
Right.
We've wanted a women's sports renaissance, and realistically, it has been a women's sports renaissance. Many, including yourself, were doubting if this was even going to work in the WNBA, and clearly it is working. The viewership numbers, the interest, putting 20,000 people in an arena to watch her play, it's working in the WNBA, and this is the first time the WNBA has ever been relevant on a scale of this magnitude. I think everybody's like trying to figure out how to cover it. Like, it's kind of weird to me. Like, I don't know if there's something to it. It's like everybody, like we cover so many men's sports and we know how to cover it because we do it every day. And then when it's like women's sports, it's like, we're like, I don't know how to do this. How do I cover it? Like, I feel like there's like some of that going on to an extent in the media. Like, it's weird to me, but that's what I'm kind of noticing. Like,
cover
in the
it like a
media.
cover it like a sporting event,
like just cover it, like just cover it like normally, but people like try to like, I don't know how to like say it without, I don't know how to put it in the right words, but it's a writer's tool. It's part of your tool belt as a writer, is to take a story that's in front of you that may not be the most compelling and grab something outside of it that is somewhat related and bring it in to make it more compelling. So your headline or your first opening statement may not be, this is one of the most entertaining games in the history of the WNBA, and Caitlin Clark didn't even play in it.
Okay. What? Well, yeah, you're drawing everybody in by using her name, and that may not be the best example, but it's one of the tools that people use. And and that's not fair to Caitlin Clark. I mean, I think we're all guilty of this. We've made so much out of this of her in the media, and that's why I was kind of using that Tebow comparison. That it's like her throngs of fans come along with her, and I think the USA, it's like, we don't want that distraction. We don't need to look. You're going to win the gold anyway. It's not like it's going to be on the edge here. All right. So again, I think and that's part of this. If it was, the men's team, which can't seem to do anything from an international standpoint, then yeah, I think maybe you scrutinize the roster a little bit more in terms of talent that fits. But again, I can make the argument that she fits. It's the international game, it's 3-point shooting.
It is what it is. I mean, she's going to be on the team in 2028 at the end of the day.
Is she?
Yeah.
Is she?
I mean, if she pans out like the way we think she's going to pan out, then of course.
What if she has an ACL injury?
What
if she breaks her leg? What if she breaks her leg on the goalpost, Steven Stamkos?
I can't predict
we thought
any of
Steven
that.
Stamkos would always get on.
Well, hell, maybe part of this discussion too.
Are.
Maybe part of this discussion too, like she's been playing a lot of basketball over the last calendar year with really no break in between, and with a lot of media attention around her. Like, I don't know, maybe she could use from a straight. She could use the break and just to get away from everything.
That's not why. That's not why they left her.
No, of course not. I'm just there's a lot of reasons to it, but again, it is what it is.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to some other stuff. Gator baseball team, boy, you cannot kill these Gators. They had to win their last series of the year against Georgia, I believe, to get a over 500 record and just get into the postseason. Then they rolled through the Stillwater Regional there. I think they had to come out of the losers bracket there and beat Oklahoma State twice, if I'm not mistaken, to advance to the Super Regional. Then they go to Clemson, which is a really, really tough place to play. They get into the final game. And they're actually up 9-3 in the bottom of the ninth. And this guy, Cam Canarella, for Clemson, goes yard with a 3-run homer to tie the game at 9. Now, the Gators come up in the bottom of the ninth, and they have 2 on, 2 out, second and third, 2 on, 2 out. So they need a big 2-out hit. And I believe you have the highlight here. Yep. This is with Cam Canarella playing center field. Ashton Wills, I believe, at the plate for the Gators with a chance to win it. Here's the play.
Lineup, and he has been a game changer. This one's out to center field. It is deep. It is gone. Oh, my goodness. That did not just happen. What? Doing this.
What, Dave? Are you kidding me? Get a break. Lay your body on the line. Say, hey, Willie Mays, kid.
Oh my God. So if you're listening on the podcast and you can't see that, he turns his back to the infield and he's running. If you've ever seen the famous Willie Mays basket catch over the shoulder, that's exactly what this looks like. But what Willie Mays had another 20 feet to go to the wall. This dude runs right into the wall as he's catching the ball at full speed. Thankfully, it's padded wall. And he catches it over his shoulder and pins it between his arm and his glove and holds on to it to save the season. I mean,
that is legitimately one of the greatest
hitting the 3-run homer.
Yeah, legitimately one of the greatest catches I have ever seen in the history of baseball. Like, not even just college baseball. Like, the degree of difficulty for that, I can't stress enough. And not to mention, it's a sunny day out. Like, I don't have it. I have no idea how you track that. I have no idea how you track that.
And we're about 4.5 hours in, by the way,
right,
of a just brutally hot day in Clemson. It was so hot. It was so hot out there that the television cameras went to shiz. Yeah, they literally had 2 cameras left because the other 3 cameras or 4 cameras or whatever overheated. That's how long they played this baseball game. And in the bottom of the 13th, Michael Robertson, the 9th place hitter for the Gators, comes up with it. They're down 10-9. So they need a tying and the winning runs, and he hits a 2-run double, and they walk it off and head to Omaha. I mean, what a freaking comeback for the Gators to come back and make it to Omaha.
Yeah, that was just part of me. If you hear my dog going absolutely nuts, I think somebody came to the door. So if you hear him barking, I apologize.
It's not even that bad. It's not even.
Okay.
We've had much worse
Right
on this show.
Yeah, I'm trying to focus though because I'm hearing it like crazy.
Well, I could. Well, you can go. You can go take care of that as I tell them about the FSU this weekend. So FSU hosted UConn for their super regional, and they just absolutely blasted 25-3, I think, game one, and then came back in game two and was down most of the game. Jamie Arnold pitching for FSU, the Jesuit star, former Jesuit star, and pitched really, really well. Then UConn came back after he left the game. I think he only pitched 5 innings. And then Florida State came back. It was Tibbs hit with 3 home runs in the game, the player of the year, and just an incredible comeback for FSU in that game. So they win 2 straight to go to Omaha. So we're going to have FSU and Florida and Omaha for the College World Series. And, this FSU team, probably not their best, but they found a way to win games. Their pitching is not as probably deep as it needs to be, but Link Jarrett in his, second season since taking over for Mike Martin Jr., has the Noles back into the World Series for the first time in 5 years. And so it's going to be fun. We got a couple folks, listeners of the show, that are heading out to watch the College World Series this week. So we'll get some on-site reports from Omaha, which is really special place.
All 8 teams are all SEC and ACC.
How about
here
that?
In baseball, which there's 31 conferences, I think, and 300 or something teams. And it's crazy. It just means more, obviously. So that's a fun element to it. And even Florida, a lot of people, they entered the year, I think, a top 5 team in the rankings, and obviously struggled. And people were like, oh, they're only getting into they're only even qualifying for these regionals and everything just because they're Florida and based on their preseason ranking. And they just, have met the moment clearly. And here they are. So this is going to be fun. College baseball, I'm telling you, from an atmosphere standpoint, is incredible.
It's hard to beat. It really is when you're watching these games. And, typically they're high scoring games because pitching is not the greatest. And they still have the aluminum bats, although not as bouncy as they once were. But you still get a lot of these, 11, 10, 13, 12 games. It's really, really fun to watch. And you got the whole emotion of the teams. Like you said, ACC and SEC, there'll be huge contingents from both those conferences out at Omaha. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm going to be dialed in because compare that to watching a Rays game. Are you freaking kidding me?
Well, obviously you have a rooting interest because your alma mater is in there. What a cool story that would be, because Florida State infamously has made it to the College World Series
28 times, I think now.
Yeah,
or
never actually
29th time and never won.
And never won it. And how poetic, I guess, would it be, and a good story to win it? The year that we lose Mike Martin, obviously. And then it sounded like that's what Link Jarrett kind of said, we're playing for him. So that'd be a cool story, obviously, from a local standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've been out to the College World Series with Mike Martin and the Noles and covered it a couple of times. And Omaha is a super special place. If you ever get a chance, if you're a baseball fan, put it on your bucket list. And it's just it's a great experience to go to these games. It's just all baseball. It's a great culture out there of baseball.
Is there a chance that I don't think they have the schedule yet of who's playing who, but I wonder if there's a chance that Florida State could match up against each other here?
I don't know. I haven't seen the brackets yet.
Yeah, I don't think they've made the brackets yet, but obviously, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the Gators will probably be one of the lower seeds, and FSU will probably be one of the higher seeds. So, there's only eight teams there, so that would be cool. That's going to be a really, really fun time. And University of Tampa, again, tip of the cap to Joe Urso and the Spartans, who won their 9th overall national championship this weekend in Cary, North Carolina. I believe it's the 6th since 2000. I think those were all Joe Urso teams, which is interesting because, I would imagine, and Joe's going to join us tomorrow. I would imagine South Florida USF inquired about probably, hopefully more than once.
I think they did. I thought I saw some report to that maybe.
Yeah. And Joe Urso, loyal to the University of Tampa, and USF hired this guy out of Indiana State. Was the name Hanna's? Older gentleman who's taken Indiana State of all programs to the College World Series 3 of the last 4 years, or to the regionals. I mean, the NCAA tournament 3 of the last 4 years.
Got a good resume.
Really, really good resume. I didn't know if they were looking for somebody younger, but somebody more dynamic. I have no idea. I'm being ageist here. But clearly this guy knows what he's doing and has a great track record in learning and knows how to teach baseball and knows how to win. So, again, the great mystery. Why is USF not better as a program at baseball? It's just
it's hard to wrap your head around. Look
at what UT has done.
We've been over it so many times of the hotbed that this Hillsborough County really is, and some of the surrounding counties is for baseball. And the history, it just, for whatever reason, USF has just never been able to really get it going outside of a few years, but they've never been able to like string them together, It kind of just like every now and then, but it didn't work under Billy Mole. We know that. But Michael Kelly, I mean, listen, if you're a USF fan, Michael Kelly hasn't steered you wrong over the past year and a half of his hires. He's done a great job. And I mean, shout out to Amir Abdur-Rahim. He got the extension, by the way. Congratulations to him. He's set to be at USF for a long time. We'll see what happens with Alex Golish. But, from everybody that I've heard who covers college baseball through and through, this was a pretty well-received hire and a guy who's done really well at a program like, Indiana State.
All right. Is this okay? Yeah, the brackets are already done here. So it looks like FSU on one side of the bracket. Is this right? All right. FSU and Texas A&M. Looks like they're playing off. Kentucky and NC State, they advanced, or was it Georgia? This is incomplete, the one I'm looking at. Wait, this isn't right.
No, I got it here. From what I'm looking at here, starting June 14th, Tennessee plays Florida State.
Yeah.
And Tennessee is a juggernaut. I think they were the number 1 overall seed, I want to say.
55-12 on the season. Yeah.
And then Florida is going to play Texas A&M on the other side.
Okay.
So the only way they would
I'm
meet,
sorry, that's right. Yeah, okay.
So the only way they would meet would be in the final.
Kentucky and so Virginia, North Carolina, Florida State, Tennessee. Oh wow, that big orange. So that's going to be fun.
That's going to be a dogfight right there.
Yeah.
Tough draw.
And I believe it begins on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, June 14th. And my days are all mixed up. I think that might be. Is that Thursday?
Yeah. Yeah. It's our good friend John Hill here. We'll be heading on out there, and he's going to be our correspondent out there. So that'll be fun. That's going to be a really, really good tournament to watch. So there you got something to watch as we wait for football season to start. And Bucks OTA start here in just a little bit. So they start tomorrow. So let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk a little Buccaneers. We got to talk Yankees Dodgers too. What a series that was this weekend, huh? That was incredible. And the 20th anniversary of the Lightning winning the Cup this past weekend. So some thoughts on that as well. We'll take a quick break. Don't forget about the Golden Diamond Source Father's Day sale is on. You get interest-free financing for 5 years as long as you want to go up to 5 years. So you can get $5,000 watch for $83 a month or whatever kind of thing you want to buy there. Necklace, bracelet for dad with the kid's name on it. That's a nice one. All kinds of cool stuff at the Golden Diamond Source. They can do custom jewelry. They can do anything you want. Always at the Golden Diamond Source. It's local, great local company. Julie and Steve Weintraub, great philanthropic folks, do a lot in our community. So keep it local at the Golden Diamond Source when you're shopping for pops. Back in 3. Stay with us. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group and my man Scott Jeeves, who lives right here and has long been a highly respected member of our community. He's a proud sponsor of the Tampa Riverwalk. Jeeves Law Group is also a proud sponsor of our Grand Central District in St. Pete.
and has neighborhood events throughout the year. He has an office on Central Avenue in St. Pete and one on South Howard in Tampa. You can't get more local than that. So when you need an attorney, you're going to hire some huge firm that advertises all over the state or the one that supports your favorite sports show. It's the Jeeves Law Group. We're local, we're trusted, and we get results. For personal injury and personal attention, call us for a free case evaluation. That's 8889-JEEVES. That's 8889-JEEVES. All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com.
JP here for Extravaganza Productions. You know, I've worked with these pros on so many big and small events. They recently did the Kappa Alpha Psi Grand Reunion, the Tampa RV Show Exhibit. They did the Skills Center opening of Tampa Bay. They can do those small events. They do the biggest of events. So if you were thinking about planning a meeting or special event, call the talented staff at Team EPI. They will give you a free creative meeting if you mention the JP Peterson Show. They will provide you with an exceptional experience. Heck, they'll even show you their huge warehouse with great props. Anything you want. They'll do it on time and on budget. You can reach them at their Tampa headquarters at 813-621-4700 or go to extravaganzaproductions.com. Tell them JP sent you.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here as we roll on here. Our thanks to the great folks at Extravaganza Productions who just got done with 10 straight days of high school graduations at the Expo Hall. They entrust Extravaganza Productions with that very important duty. And you can trust them with your charity event, big birthday party coming up. That's right. Why not get the pros to help you produce a birthday party, right? If it's a big one, you're going to spend some money anyway. Get the folks at Extravaganza Productions to jump on in. They've got, as I said, a warehouse full of different props and great creative ideas. You can get a free creative meeting with them. If you just go to extravaganzaproductions.com, contact them through the website, either by email or phone, and tell them JP sent you. They'll give you that free creative meeting. So do that with Extravaganza Productions. All right. Did you watch any of the Yankees-Dodgers series this weekend?
You know, I had to. I mean, listen.
Boy, that's an atmosphere, isn't it?
It's what I'm saying. It's like, I understand it's Yankees-Dodgers, and I should be scoffing at it, but it felt big. And
huge.
Very often do I not give MLB credit for trying to make something feel big because they just are completely inept when it comes to that. But when it came to Yankees and Dodgers, I thought they nailed it. The presentation on Fox on Saturday and then last night on Sunday Night Baseball was great. Listen, those two teams, those stars, man.
Wow.
And Aaron, and like I said, it's like
feels like a different league.
I'd be curious to get the take of Rays fans. I know like we're in a big rivalry with the Yankees and we don't like them, but does anybody really hate Aaron Judge? Like he is legitimately, I think, the best hitter in baseball. And right now, I think he's got like 17 home runs in his last 32 games or something crazy like that.
He was number one in the month of May in every single important offensive category. Total bases, home runs, RBIs, everything. 18 home runs in the month. He's just unstoppable. And Soto, Soto didn't play this weekend, has a forearm strain. So the Dodgers, took 2 out of 3, I believe. Judge came back last night and hit 2 home runs, just lasers. But the Dodgers are so good. I'm watching that, and I'm looking at these lineups, Nick, and I'm going, I mean, the Rays look like a Division II team compared to these teams. And that's not – a lot of teams do. And baseball's got – I mean, I don't remember when the disparity has been this big in the haves and the have-nots. It's glaring. And not so much maybe even in the wins and losses,
but just in the look of the teams. I mean, you look at this Yankees team and you're like, oh, I might pay $25, $30 a ticket to go see this team, right? And then if you spent money, if you went to the Trop this weekend, you got to feel like you just threw your money away. I mean, there's no stars. There's no zip. There's nothing. I mean, you want to charge me $44, $50 for an outfield seat. You better give me a show. Like, and I don't, that's a show. That the Yankees, the Dodgers.
Well, realistically, the Yankees, the Dodgers, and the Phillies are all playing a different. They're in a different sport right now when it comes to.
It shouldn't be that way.
So no, it shouldn't. But that's what baseball is. It's always been that way.
Nah, not like this.
Not to this extent. I mean, the Dodgers are just completely unfair. I mean, the fact that they already had like the super team already, and then they were able to just go at Ohtani and Yamamoto, and hey, we're going to go get Tyler Glasnow on top of that. And
ridiculous.
I mean, it is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And if they don't win the World Series, then it's a tremendous failure, right?
But even if people go, well, they don't win the World Series every year. Yeah, but on a night-to-night basis, you want to see some stars. And the league needs to even out the stars in this league. There was a time when there was an autonomous commissioner called Billy Kuhn, and he would, if trades were ridiculous and Charlie Finley was selling off all the pieces of the Oakland A's, he'd say, I'm not going to let that go through. You're not going to just sell off your products to the highest bidder.
I do think there is like stars out there, like maybe not the ones we're focusing on, because let's be honest, when they put on a Dodger uniform, you put on a Yankee uniform, it elevates your star power.
Sure.
But look at the American League, for example. I mean, Bobby Witt Jr., we saw him in the Royals series. Fantastic player.
What a player.
You look at the Orioles, Gunnar Henderson, fantastic player. Jose Ramirez has been one of the best players in baseball for almost a decade.
Yeah, that's one on a team.
Talks about him.
That's one on a team. I mean, they've got 9 up and down the lineup.
Yeah, they have the ability to put that out there. I mean, not every team does. So yeah,
but I think MLB has an issue. They got a lot of issues, but that's one of them, and it really does hurt teams and so many of the teams now are dumpster diving.
And look at the league in general from a hitting. Like, we focus so much on the Rays because that's what we cover, but if you look at hitting around the league, it's been a disaster this year.
Yeah.
And I honestly think baseball did something with the baseballs this year. I'm so convinced.
Why would they do that?
I don't know what they've done.
Why would you deaden the ball?
Did you see the clip last week? Aroldis Chapman is pitching for the Pirates, and he throws one of his fastballs right down the middle, and a guy looks like he crushes it to the point where Aroldis Chapman, immediately the guy made contact, he turned around and slammed his glove down on the ground. Aroldis Chapman did, because he thought he just gave up a bomb, and everybody thought it was a bomb. It went probably an inch past the warning track, and it was caught for an out. Everybody thought it was a home run, including Aroldis Chapman. The reaction, these guys know these balls have been changed this year. There's no doubt about it. And hitting is down across the board.
But why would they do that on purpose? Why would you want less offense? That makes no sense. And I think it may be just because of the products that they use. Maybe it's just random. Some years it's more bouncy and some years it's not. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It's kind of weird that Fairbanks, has the nerve issues with his hands. So for him calling out
now.
Yeah, and it was, in Coors Field. So you got a lot of different variables there. But he said the ball was terrible. I think a lot of players have said it's a dead ball this year, which I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely do think it is, because like I said, hitting down around the board. In fact, I had it up here. You literally have so for example, you only have 7 teams who are hitting above 250 as a team. 7 teams. That's
boring
it.
Baseball.
That is it. You have so many teams. Like the Rays are hitting. The Rays are actually hitting 233, which, if you can believe it, is 20th in the league. There's actually 10 teams worse than them. But there's so many teams. Like the Reds are hitting 227. The Mariners are hitting 222. The A's are hitting 219. The White Sox 217. Hitting is just horrendous this season across the league.
All right. Scottie Scheffler wins for the 5th time in 8 weeks or 8 tournaments. mean, he's lapping the field in the FedEx race. Yesterday, he shot 74, which is the highest winning score since I think 2020 in at the PGA Tour. I mean, he
still won.
Yeah, he still won. But that course yesterday was set up like a bear, like a golden bear. Jack Nicklaus's signature course and tournament. He shot 74, bogeyed 17, which was very rare for him coming down the stretch to miss a shot. But Morikawa also missed a shot, although he picks up a shot at 17. Then 18, Scottie hits it in the rough from the fairway because the greens were so freaking hard. The ball was just bouncing right through. Then Morikawa hits a shot got a bad bounce on his drive on 18, ended up in the bunker, fairway bunker, then hit what looked like a really good shot, but it just went over the green. So both had to chip up, and Morikawa thought he made his chip. The group before, I think it was Sepp Straka, actually made it from right where he was, and he almost made it, and the ball just curved a little at the end, and then Scottie makes a 6.5 footer for the win. He's just, I mean,
yeah, and a cool moment. His newborn son was there.
Yeah,
his wife was there as well, for a guy who's been through more than he should have been over the past month. And I bring that up only because this was funny. This came out on Friday, I believe. I don't know if you saw this. We finally got the photos. The LMPD, the Louisville Metro Police Department, released the photos to Detective Brian Gillis's reported injuries from his police report. Take a look at these things right here. Look at this. Look how brutal. Look how brutal. Look at that knee. That knee has been mangled right there.
That's literally like, throw some dirt on it, kid. Get back in there.
Yeah, yeah. Had to go to the hospital for repairs.
I was dragged.
And right here, there's the infamous $80 pants that were ruined beyond repair. There they are.
I don't even see a hole in them.
There's a little hole there, but I mean, come on.
How is this guy not fired? Doing donuts with drunk people in the car.
I don't know. Like we say all the time, there are some great cops out there who do a great job and have to take a lot of crap for some of the bad ones out there. But let's not be naive. There are some bad ones out there. And
how is this guy not fired?
This is a bad cop.
Yeah, really, really. And and here we sit. He won the Players. He won the Masters. He won the Memorial. First to do that in what same year since Tiger won 5 times.
Tiger's historic 01 season.
Yeah. So if he wins the next 2 majors, are we sitting here looking at that cop as the reason he didn't win the Grand Slam? Seriously.
I mean, I based on the way Scottie played on Sunday of the PGA.
Yeah.
And Saturday, that was the day where everything hit him and he just had a meltdown. Like, yeah, of course, he's at least in contention on that final day with DeChambeau and Schauffele and Hovland. So who knows? It might be a big what if. But even then, the guy came right back out and he finished second at the Charles Schwab, and then he wins the Memorial. Like, there's nothing stopping this guy. And if you're a player on tour, you just have to be shaking your head like, there's nothing that we can do. There is nothing that we can do.
It's the only way. Just hope he gets arrested at the U.S. Open this week. It is in New York, so there's a lot of opportunity for people doing things that aren't very serious to get arrested.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Did you?
It's not in New York, by the way. It's at Pinehurst in North Carolina.
Did you watch or actually no? We had the 20th anniversary. I was going to say the Stanley Cup, but we have our own 20th anniversary of the Stanley Cup here.
That's right.
The Lightning's first that you had a big part of at Channel 8.
Yeah, I put out some pics yesterday of our pregame show I did with Stacy Scheibel. We were on a 20-foot scissor lift above Thunder Alley. It was just an incredible scene, looking down at all the people all around. It was just amazing. And after the game, I'm doing post-game stuff with Dave Andreychuk, and I'm showing him skating with the cup on the ice. It's the first time he'd seen it, and he's getting all teared up and drinking from the cup. And God, what a night that was. What a night. What a week that was, as I traveled to Calgary for game 6, and Marty wins that in double OT. And then, we're doing a live shot outside the Saddle Dome, and people are walking out the door, F you, Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
That was incredible. And then we fly back, and it's right back to work, and we're getting ready for this hour. The news director's like, all right, we got an hour-long special because NBC was airing the games. So we took advantage of that and did an hour-long pregame show. That was, man, it was exhausting, but it was so much fun. And just covering that team the whole year. with Marty and Vinny and Brad and Andre Waugh. It's just what
Great team.
Hobby
Yeah.
Bullen.
I mean, I was only 5 years old during that entire run, but honestly, that's my favorite. That's still my favorite Lightning team of all time because it was at the age where I was starting to like understand things a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And because the team was on top like that, I probably was the reason why I got into hockey as much as I did when I was a kid and became a lifelong fan because of it. And Brad Richards was my absolute favorite athlete in Tampa Bay time, to the point when he got traded to Dallas, my parents literally got me a Brad Richards Stars t-shirt for Christmas after. Like I followed that fandom. He was like a god to me. So great team.
Didn't get a chance to defend the cup. Stupid strike the next year.
Yeah, the strike killed them, of course.
Yeah, awful. But whatever. It was a moment in time that we will never forget here in Tampa Bay. And we got game 2 tonight.
Yeah,
the Panthers. Can I say that Bobrovsky stole that game? Can we say that?
That was one of the most incredible performances I've seen in a Stanley Cup final game. Seriously,
money. Remember what he did to us and the officials. He's been really good, man. He's been, even when he's not getting goalie interference calls.
Yeah, because Edmonton outplayed them.
They did
all facets. They only made 2 mistakes the entire game, and they both ended up in the back of their net. But like McDavid was everywhere, Draisaitl was everywhere. They did everything they could, but they just could not solve the
Panthers 18-9 in the second, late in the second period. I'm like, holy crap! I mean, they were really, really good. Bobrovsky. So tonight, I think this is a huge part of this series, right? If Edmonton can I don't even steal this game, but earn this win, and Bobrovsky's not standing on his head, they got a chance to make this a real series.
I hope so, because the NBA Finals, I don't think that one's going to be a big series going forward.
Maybe like Z says, Game 3 obviously is huge, and if they, Kyrie has been awful.
He has.
Awful.
He has, and Derek Lively, or some of these other guys from Dallas who stepped up along the way, they look like the moment's too big for him right now.
Yeah, they really do, and maybe that's because Boston. That's a suffocating atmosphere.
It is
for your first NBA Finals to go there, and even Kyrie, I think, was affected to some degree.
I mean, they're booing him every time he's got the ball and everything, and there's a lot of bad blood there.
Yeah, he's getting his shots. He's just not making anything.
Right, 13 for 37, I think. 0 for 8 on contested threes the entire series. Just they're not going to do anything unless Kyrie picks up his play.
Yeah. All right, great show, my friend. Well done. Appreciate Evan Klosky joining us, David Zimroth as well. Thank you all guys for doing that as well, for joining us. Don't forget the podcast. Please like and subscribe our YouTube channel, JP Peterson Show, and FanStream Sports, and also our podcast. Check out all our socials. We will be back tomorrow with more fun and frivolity. UT coach Joe Urso is going to join us. So we'll see you then.